Welcome to the Bookology Podcast. I'm your co-host, Jonathan Jones, and I'm here with my fellow co-host, my father, Dr. Fred Jones. Dad, how is it going? How are you feeling?
Feeling great, John. I love what the scripture says. We walk by faith and not by sight. So, hey, here's the deal. Facts, faith, and feeling. Always get the facts. Step out in faith, and your feelings will follow.
Hmm.
How about that for opening up a podcast?
Yeah, I like the way you actually put that in order, because if you put it the other way around, you led with feelings, and then that determine your facts, then that will ultimately challenge your faith.
Mhm. Yeah, so you get confused with the fact. Well, it feel, and guess what? It doesn't have to feel good to be God.
Mm.
That's a Bishop T.D. Jakes quote. I'm gonna have to give it to him.
Uh,
I first heard him say, it doesn't have to feel good to be God. And I've often heard him say, success doesn't always feel successful. So, with that in mind, John, I want to talk to you about your journey into entrepreneurship and what a book has done for you and how you have been able to work from home or to work online or pretty much to work from anywhere based off of a book. So when you first wrote your book, why did you write a book?
I first wrote my book after me and you went back and forth, and you challenged me, uh, letting me know that you felt I had the ability to write a book and I had a message to share to a population who has not reached the level that I had reached yet. And that was right around at the time I graduated college. And I said, Dad, I don't think I have anything to share. I don't think anybody really would listen to me. But then after we went back and forth, and then that was right when I was at the crossroads of having a really negative attitude at my job. And then my boss at the time, she said, Jonathan, she said, your attitude sucks, son. And then she went on vacation for 3 days. And when she returned, that was when I had the time to self reflect. And that was when I birthed something called the No Complain campaign. And this was when the culmination or the process of the book being created came into fruition, because I wanted to share that message. So that was the birth, and that was the inception of when the book process really started, to help get the message out, help people become more optimistic, and help them see the light at the end of the tunnel.
So looking back today, that's been like 4 to 6 years ago. Am I right?
Yes, sir. 2016. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Looking back over pushing through that whole process of getting that book written and published, do you have any regrets?
I have no regrets. The only regret I would the only regret I would say was not having done it a little bit sooner, and not having done it a little faster, because just with my message and what I believe in, I believe that the message could have reached more people by now if I didn't drag my feet through the book writing process, as well as feel I would have been able to impact a few more lives, and even have been able to expand the message a little bit further if I got started a little bit sooner.
Having gotten started now, and you've been on the pathway now for some years, talk to me about some of the methods that you've been able to market your book.
Well, the first method would be that I've had the opportunity to date to do two TEDx presentations. One at SMU with the kids, and then another was a TEDx presentation, just sharing the power of the pain of an untold story, rather. So that would be one of the ones that I've seen, and I feel that really was a great benefit, being able to say that I've written a book, and I have that credibility in that particular space in regards to marketing.
So, what does it take for one to get onto that red dot? Talk to me about your What did you do to get there? And then I want to ask you a follow up question to that. What did you do? How did you get to the red dot?
Yes, sir. Well, I did what well initially. So I began to just watch a lot of TED Talks, and I was like, well, what's the recipe? What are the ingredients that these people are utilizing for their particular presentation? And then after I began to study that, well, let me take a step back. Let me take a step back. The first thing I did was I searched, where can I find a TEDx speaking engagement? So I searched that on Google. I typed that in the search engine. And then anybody who's listening, they can go in and do the same thing. So anybody who's listening, you can apply these same steps, and you too should be able to find yourself on that red dot. Okay, so anyway, I Googled, where can I find a TEDx engagement? That was first. Following that process, then after I didn't really pinpoint the one I wanted to speak at, I did what was easy. I went for the low hanging fruit. So I reached out to a local coordinator here in Dallas, and I said, "Hey, I would love to speak." And then she didn't respond. She didn't respond. A year passed, Dad. She did not respond. I sent her countless emails. I kept calling the phone. Respond. I'm like, this is not meant to be. Let me just leave it alone. Let me walk away. And then one day she sends me an email. Hey, Jonathan, I don't know if you are open to this, but I'd love to invite you to do a TEDx presentation. During this time, I'm excited because this was a dream come true for me. I show up the date that she gives me, and I'm looking around. I don't see the red dot anywhere. And I'm like, well, this isn't TEDx if I don't see the red dot. And she said, no, Jonathan, I wanted you to present here first, and then we'll test you out. We'll see what the response is, and then we can go from there. Did the presentation. She was excited. She said, Jonathan, okay, okay. I know before it wasn't an official TEDx, but this one will be. She set me up to go speak. About 800 plus kids in the auditorium. I walk on the red dot. Because I did the research. I applied. Then I reached out and reached out and reached out, and then I was able to finally do that presentation. It was about a 2 year process, but then we were able to make that happen.
So in one word, you were persistent. Would you say persistent?
Yes, sir. Persistent for sure.
Why did you not quit? Why did you quit? Did you want to quit? How did you remain focused to continue to pursue this opportunity?
Well, it was a dream for me. And just like I said before about me writing the book, the goal was to get the message out to expand impact and impact more lives. And I felt that that would be an opportunity that would continue to put me in the space to where I could expand more lives, sharing the impact and having the opportunity to talk to more people. So ultimately on the other side, it was to empower more people to then empower more people. So I didn't quit because I knew that if I persisted and if I was successful, then other people would see how tangible success could possibly be.
Awesome. So tell me this. So you scored a TEDx presentation, and matter of fact, two. So tell me something else that you've done to market and or to monetize your book.
Yes, sir. So another opportunity that I've had just by way of the book, I've been able to partner with colleges from Louisiana, going out to California, in different places like that, and been able to secure paid speaking engagements based off the credibility of the book and based off the content of the book. So that was something that I didn't necessarily foresee in the future, but just going back to like what you were saying, like these were opportunities that's been created by way of having a book as my business card instead of just trying to send somebody an email and give somebody a call. Now I have some credibility to stand on. So that's something else. And then also that also leading to me having a podcast, which is the Speak Your Success podcast, which has we're going on about 3 years strong, and that's also been a platform I've been able to utilize to continue to share my message and continue to impact others all across the world now at this point.
Okay, hold on a second. We were talking about colleges that you reached out to. We talked about the TEDx presentation. Then you said you reached out to colleges and universities and so forth.
Yes,
That's
sir.
correct. Okay, wait a minute, wait a minute. So I think sometimes we, I want to make sure that the audience here, these specifically one by one, how did you reach out to the colleges? How did you know who to call? When you called them, what did you say? Give me some strategy behind these calls because I could imagine if I pick up the phone and call UCLA or LSU or University of Alabama or someplace, I mean, I may get crickets, but you were able to talk to somebody. How did you do that?
Yes, sir. So, well, first I hired a coach. After, well, you were my first coach. I hired you to be my book writing coach, and then I paid you that $5,000, and then you walked me through the process of getting the book published. From there, I don't know what I don't know, and ultimately navigating the map in a place that's unknown to me would be extremely difficult without having a guide. So I hired a coach, and then he began to share strategies in regard to getting speaking engagements and contracts and things like that. But the people listening, who I would reach out to the student life departments. I would reach out to the male achievement program coordinators, and then getting them on the phone, or sometimes even going up to the institution to sit down and talk with somebody and say, I'm wanting to work with you all, I'm wanting to partner with you all, and I want to add value to your students because I
So when
believe
you
that.
pick up,
Go ahead.
so when you pick up the phone and call, how does that call go?
The call will
How
go
do
like,
you get the breakthrough? How do you get the breakthrough to even get them to answer? Do you send an email? Do you text them? Or do you just pick up the phone and call?
well, I've done email and I've done cold calls. Excuse me. And for me, I would typically call, and then like I said, you would look for the coordinator of events, or they have different names. The person over student life, depending on the college, that the name varies. But I would call and I would say, "Hello, such and such. My name is Jonathan Jones. How are you doing?" Then they would share, and then I would say, I see that you all are running these type programs or that type programs, and I was just looking to see if by any chance you had any upcoming events to where I could speak or work with your student leaders on campus. And then from there, then depending on the level of rapport you build with the individual on the line, complimenting some of the things that you've seen in their bio, talking to the people and just sharing the great highlights that you've seen on the website. When you build that level of rapport, then they tend to open up, and then they will more than likely begin to share some information with you. So going back and forth like that, that would be the beginning part of how that conversation typically would go when I would reach out to colleges and those directors and things like that.
So the other day you called about 2 days ago. We were talking. Said I was on this call and this director was speaking to me. She said, "Hey, Jonathan, how is it going with you? What's going on with you?" And you said, "Normally I would answer that question, but this time I caught myself." Tell me about that briefly before I ask you a couple more questions.
Yes, sir. Well, she asked about me first, and I told her this specifically. I said, "Well, I'm from Baton Rouge. I'm a Southern gentleman, so I certainly I'll answer your question, but I want to hear more about you first." Was the way I answered that question, and then she began to go on and share. her story, her background, and she began to talk to me like I was a friend that she's known for years.
What was the principle?
You said, what was the principle?
What was the concept? What was the strategy there that you employed? The strategy is what?
Well, first the strategy was building rapport. But outside of building rapport, the strategy is allowing her to share about herself, allowing her the opportunity to speak, because by her share talking about themselves. So by allowing her to share, now she creates a level of comfortability with me, and by way of us creating comfortability, now we're building relationship, because that's my goal in 2020 is to build more relationships. So by way of building relationship, you'll be more likely to do business with somebody that you have a relationship with versus somebody that you can't tell from a can of paint.
So basically, you want to connect before you collect. You want to serve before you sell. You want to get to know them before they get to know you. So you
Exactly.
agree with that? Okay. So you did a TEDx presentation. You reached out to colleges and universities. You got podcasts going. Tell me about that. Tell me about your podcast and your episodes.
So my podcast is entitled Speak Your Success. And the tagline, I would say, is the best way to describe the podcast. And I say, speak your success, believe in your greatness, and continue to create the life and business of your dreams. Why would you want to live any other way? And I say that because I focus on giving tangible life skills and success strategies for young professionals, millennials, and student athletes, because a life skill is something that you can leverage in any facet, in any business, anywhere. So therefore, I want to focus on that to empower and equip the audience that's listening, who I entitle the successors, so that ultimately they will do greater work beyond me. They'll do greater work beyond they thought or even dreamed or even imagined. So the focus there, I always just want to unpack different things like that. I even did an episode showing people how I started my t-shirt printing business for under $300, because people are in a place, and especially now, to where they're trying to take a dime and they're trying to make $3 out of it. But the question is, how will you do that? So people are looking for strategies, people are looking for tangible insight, people are looking for application. So that's what I always strive to give the people throughout my podcast. I don't try to give them fluff. I give them concrete, tried and true strategies that I've applied in my own business and even in my life, so that they can yield success from it as well.
Thoughts on marketing or monetizing a book that you want to share?
Well, one of the best forms of monetizing a book, if this is somebody who has already written a book, already published their book, and you have books on hand and they're in your closet and you're sitting on them, one way I would encourage would be finding out any local events, finding out about any expos, or seeing if you can get to a spot to where you can have just the opportunity to step on the mic, even if it's briefly, and then you having the opportunity to sell books. So that's a strategy that I've incorporated, and it works really well, just to get you through those times when you may not have speaking engagements lined up. So you get the opportunity to, share a flyer and tell people, come out to this event. I'll be there. I'll be speaking. And that not only makes you look good, but that makes the event coordinator look good as well. So when you post that graphic, that flyer, etc., you want to make sure you tag the coordinator. You want to make sure you tag other people who are going to be at the event, because dad, your favorite word, then other people like to share that post. And then that will increase your visibility, that will increase your marketing, and ultimately that can increase your monetization. Another way to market your book would be by way of, uh, when you're securing speaking engagements or seeking speaking engagements, see about providing a package deal, a package bundle, saying you can speak me for, let's just say somebody's fee is $5,000. Let's say you tell somebody you can secure me for $6,000 and I'll include 50 books for your audience, for the first 50 people to show up to the event. Once again, this makes you look great because you need to have a video person there or a camera person there. And now, by you having that, they're getting footage, they're getting photos, and then you can use this in emails that you send. So you're sending out emails with pictures of you signing 50 books, and the clients are extremely happy. And the population that you're working with, they have books in hand and everybody's excited. So this is something you have to continue to think about as you're marketing yourself and marketing your brand, that you want to create an experience for people. And then after you create that experience, you want to make testimonial. And you want the testimonial of the person who brought you in or the key decision maker. That can be a director of an organization, that could be a director of a college, or the program coordinator, like I spoke of earlier. And then you want to get them to give you a video testimonial. Why do you want a video testimonial? So when you begin to call other schools, like I made mention of before, or send emails, at the bottom, Dad, this is bonus. At the bottom of your email, you can then link them to that video testimonial and say, here's what other people have said, other clients I have worked with, here's their experience with me. So those would be a few strategies. Like I said, find local events to where you can vend, um, take the opportunity to share posts, bundle the book with the speaking engagement, and also a testimonial. I believe that's four strategies that people can utilize, and they should be able to see some success from that.
And very impressive. And I want to thank you for sharing and thank you for all that you have provided here by way of value and information to those that are listening to the podcast. John, is there any closing word before I finalize this broadcast?
Yes, sir. I'm going to share one thing that my coach that I worked with some time ago, and I love this coach. His name is Kendall Fickling, and he told me when I was in his program, he said, I'm going to tell you a lot of strategies and I'm going to share with you all a lot of things to do. But he said, just watch what I do. More than what I tell you, watch what I do. And I would encourage all of the Bookology podcast listeners, if they're not connected with me on social, to get connected. You can find me, Jonathan Jones Speaks, on all platforms, or just search Jonathan J Speaks, and then all my information will come up. But I would say get connected with me. Say you heard the podcast, and then from there, just watch what I'm doing, and
Cut out
that would be the final words. That would be the final words I'll share.
a moment ago as you were saying something.
What'd you say, Dad?
You cut out. I didn't hear you.
Okay,
Just
I'll just restate it and I'll edit it out. So the final thought that I would like to share with the Bookology podcast listeners is just a phrase that my coach Kendall Ficklin says, and I love Kendall. He said, "I'm going to share with you a lot of information, but watch what I do." And I'm going to tell all of the listeners of this podcast to just watch what I do. Let's get connected on social. You can search Jonathan J Speaks on Google, and all of my information will come up: my website, Instagram, YouTube, etc. But just watch what I do, and then you can duplicate or you can replicate the strategy to see how it works for you. But that's what I would encourage you to do. See successful people in the lane that you are desiring to be in or you're aspiring to be in, and watch what they do and then tweak it for your own benefit. That would be the tip that I would share with the good people of the Bookology podcast, Dad.
John, folks, you've gotten some valuable information there. Watch. Hey, listen, while we preach what we believe, we reproduce who we are. Jones, I want to remind you the most expensive thing you will ever pay is attention to the wrong people.